If time wasn't an issue and talent wasn't relevant, the very best way to play StarCraft 2 at a competitive level would be to play a random. To not know what you're gonna be playing at the start of a game, be it Terran, Zerg, or Protoss. Now what I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series. I was gonna call the matchup, but I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense because our player right here in the bottom right-hand corner is playing with the random pieces. Spawning in blue as Protoss, we have Reynor. Now Reynor, of course, one of the very best Zerg players in the world. He's recently been playing the ESL Open Cups as random, and from what I understand, this is a really interesting series, so we're gonna find out together exactly what ended up going down. As his opponent in this particular best-of-3 is one of the very best Terrans from Europe. He's from Germany, and he goes by the nickname of HeroMarine. Alrighty, so HeroMarine versus Reynor. Just to clarify, HeroMarine is going to be playing Terran. Reynor is the only one switching it up here. And from what I understand, he's actually been very successful. Obviously, I did cover Reynor in the past. I think that must have been like, I don't know, like maybe half a year ago or so at this point, where he was first starting to play a lot of Protoss, and he was playing a bunch of Terran as well. Apparently now he's moved on to playing a little bit of a random instead. Now, theoretically, right? In theory, playing random is the best. Right? I think it's fair to say, if you assume that skill level is flat for every single race in StarCraft 2, say for example, I don't know, one of your weaknesses is early game cheese. Well, if you're playing random, there's no way that early game cheese is really gonna be coming up in the strictest sense of the word. Obviously, you can still go for a bunker over here like HeroMarine is trying to do. But at the very least, you're not gonna, like say for example you're Terran here, right? You're not gonna start this game off by planting 3 barracks on the other side of the map, because that wouldn't make sense in most of the matchups. Anyways, we do have ourselves a bunker finished right now. Lovely little location right here by the biggest of gates. Unloads that SCV right at the bottom, and this is, well, basically unreachable for now. That probe is certainly gonna go down. There is a Stalker coming out of the main gateway here. Stargate apparently on the back of it too. Very fast Nexus. 2 probes have already gone down, but with that shield battery finishing up, I do believe that this should all be pushed back. This is gonna look a little bit dicey. It's gonna be a little bit frustrating, but I do like this move right here from HeroMarine. The thing is, right, when you're playing random, obviously it's really difficult to learn every single matchup to the same extent as, well, if you only were to practice 3 different matchups, right? So just throwing Reynor off a little bit here with a cheeky little bunker opener, it's theoretically not the strongest way to play this matchup, but it's really clever because this is likely also something that Reynor doesn't play against all too often. Nice little bit of bunker micro here. Look at him trying to, yep, you see how that shot disappears? If you actually load the SCV into, okay, there you go, into the bunker, you do eventually get the, well, if you load it in time, you do eventually neglect the Stalker damage right there, which is kind of sweet. Anyways, no oracles this time around. We're gonna go straight into a Stargate. And with the positioning right here of these structures, I don't think that HeroMarine is gonna be able to get much of a scout off in the main base. Yeah, he doesn't really know what he's playing against at this point, which is always a little bit scary, right? Could be a Robo, could be a Twilight Council, could be a Stargate opener. I do believe HeroMarine should be favored in this particular game, but there's no denying, though, that, yeah, this was good defense right here from Reynor. Not panicking, not really overestimating the amount of units he really needs, not wasting too many chrono boosts. We're even gonna start knocking down the rocks. Knocking down the cooling tower over here may be a small indicator that this is going to be a Stargate opener. With Phoenixes, you usually want to buy as much time as possible so you eventually can tech up towards Colossi. Terrans, and in particular HeroMarine, they love going for those parade pushes through the center of the map. So knocking down the cooling towers over here in the center, they're gonna collapse right over here in the middle. I mean, we don't... Okay. Yeah, okay, there you go. Apparently that was a little bit glitchy. What in the world? Anyways, we do see them collapsing down right there in the middle, and this is gonna make the advancement of a Terran push quite a bit slower. Nice little play here. A robo facility here indeed on the back of it as well, as we've already mined out the golden minerals in the back of the natural. And I guess we're gonna be going for a Nexus over here. Okay. This is not something HeroMarine is gonna be able to, yeah, very quickly scout. He'll probably figure it out momentarily, but it certainly is all a little bit different than you would expect. Now, I don't really want to fanboy over Reynor all too much, because I tend to do that. Reynor is, however, one of the absolute fastest pro gamers in all of StarCraft 2. I would probably say it's yeah, a toss-up between him and Clem. Now, Clem doesn't play the game as much anymore as he used to. I believe he's busy studying and all that. Reynor's still playing this game full-time. You see that reaction speed right there, where he turned those Phoenixes around at the last possible second? Or, well, last possible second, as quickly before he ever would lose anything. Super important, obviously, to keep all of these units alive. It's very easy to accidentally slip up. And I've noticed that that speed seems to carry over as well to his Terran and his Protoss, so he should know exactly what to do. This is still a very scary push, though. There's no Colossi yet. There's an Immortal just about to pop out. We do have Phoenixes here, so the Phoenixes want to lift up those siege tanks. Nice attack right here from HeroMarine. Yep, he's forcing the cancel on that Nexus. I do think giving up this position is the right call, because there's really no way for Protoss to defend this until he gets some of those heavy hitters out. Interestingly enough, he's still committing to Immortals. Maybe because it's already like a third of the way done, he doesn't want to go straight into the Colossus. And instead, we're going to go for the more conventional third base location right now as well. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, we haven't seen a third command center yet. So without a third CC, well, this is actually going to be very painful, because he doesn't have that much income in the first place, losing 8 of those workers already. Yeah, this income advantage, even though the Nexus just got denied, it's certainly going to go in favor of the Protoss here as time goes by. HeroMarine is going to go for one big push. I think that's the plan. That's really the only thing that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you can expand on the back of it if you want to, but by the time he's gonna get across, those Phoenixes have been darting in and out for a little while already. They've bought enough time for the Colossi to now come out. You saw him overlapping the Chrono right there for a little bit. It's, I guess, mostly the details that's gonna, yeah, require a little bit of fine-tuning, but okay, well, that's not quite ideal either. But losing a Phoenix at this point in the game, not as big a deal anymore. As long as you've got enough Phoenixes here to get rid of the siege tanks when the battle starts. Honestly, that's what you're mostly aiming for here. I'm getting a Widowmine, not bad. Colossi are coming out, though. And, yeah, there's already one available. Extended Thermal Lens is going to finish up momentarily as well. That's the additional ranged upgrade for those Colossi. HeroMarine doesn't actually realize that the Nexus has been retaken over there on the right side, so he's going to see probes going back and forth in that location right now, but he also sees this huge army. Couple of sentries available with a few force fields. Lasers. Lasers. Okay, getting a medevac here would be sweet as well. This is actually really not looking that hot right now for HeroMarine. Reynor is going to have to trust in the abilities right here of his units. Getting a siege tank as well, because it's too close to that wall. Losing a Phoenix for a siege tank is a-okay. Because honestly, that's the only scary unit right here in this Terran army. The Colossi and the Immortals, they kill everything else. There's another siege tank, taking a lot of damage. There's no way, Gabe. How in the world are you going to push up this ramp? Well, I guess Protoss is maybe going to try and push down. I don't think that's necessary, but the Immortal right there finished up that tank. Only one remains. Command Center started up just now, but this is going to be ages behind that of the third of the Protoss. As a matter of fact, I think Reynor, as soon as he sniffs that out, he may even be thinking about making a fourth Nexus. Wouldn't mind seeing that. Couple Medevacs once again misrelied. Reynor actually outplaying HeroMarine with Protoss, which is not what I expected when I started up this cast, I'll be honest with you. He's made very few mistakes up to this point, losing only a couple Phoenixes, really. You can't really prevent all of the probes, I guess, or you can't really allow all the probes to stay alive, right? I mean, usually at least a few of them will fall here and there. There's the Nexus going down. He hasn't spotted the third CC, but I guess he looked at the amount of units here from Terran, and he's like, well, there has to be a third command center, because otherwise, where is all that economy going? HeroMarine right now, going for what almost seems like a bit of a desperation move. He's started up his double starport production already, but he doesn't really have the economy to properly support it. So we're gonna start pumping out those Vikings 4 at a time. The idea being that, well, if you can get rid of the Phoenixes, if you can get rid of the Colossi, then suddenly the Protoss army really isn't that scary anymore. If Reynor picks up on this, though, he could just simply continue onwards with, well, more anti-air production in literally any form. You just want to buy enough time for the Colossi to destroy everything. Army-wise, this is still a very scary Terran force, though. Yeah. So it's 83 army supply right there for Terran, 78 for Protoss. Although the quality of the units here for Protoss is definitely better. I actually sort of forgot how passive Reynor actually tends to be when he's playing his off races. Like, most of the time when a pro gamer is playing their off races, they will play a relatively cheesy army, but not really the case here. No timing attacks, just solid, straightforward macro play. Just roaming the map with Phoenixes. So with Zerg, it's not uncommon for Reynor to go up to 5, sometimes even 600 average actions per minute. So it makes sense in my mind at least that Phoenixes are going to be the go-to option, because this is the type of unit that generally gets more value the more you actively use it. Okay. Well, this may be the very first time that Reynor decides, yo, I'm gonna go for a push. He's got the +2 done. Or sorry, the +1 done, the +2 started. Oh my god, Siege Tank actually on Siege says Terran does not realize where that Protoss army is currently located. Reynor's gonna only send the... Okay, at least he was thinking about only sending in the Zealots. The Viking count rather is now currently at 10, but there's still 9 Phoenixes available as well. Here's a big warp in as well with that Prism. I think he's ready to go for the killing blow. And this is one hell of an army. Is there enough, however, though? Because this is still a very large Terran force as well. The Phoenixes hunting down as many of those Vikings as possible. The Zealots and the Archons trying to get to the front so those Colossi can start dealing damage. Pretty good set of force fields as well. The SCVs forced to be pulled away from their mineral lines. As all of the Vikings are now destroyed, there's no answer anymore for those Colossi. I guess your best bet is to try and jump it with Marines and Marauders, but that is a very dangerous move. Not even warping in additional Stalkers either, just going straight into mass Zealot production. Loved the fact actually that a couple of those Zealots were waiting on the right side of the map to make sure that those Colossi would have a little bit of buffer, because they are dealing so much damage right now. Just shooting laser after laser. I mean, now Stalkers are being warped in as well. I don't believe we have the Blink upgrade done, but he doesn't really need it either. Disruptors, Dark Templar, and everything else on the back of it too. Reynor shuts down HeroMarine in game number 1. Oh no. Game number 2. We find ourselves on Ancient Cistern, and this time around Reynor spawns in as Zerg. Now there's always the question, and this is what I always see discussed in the comment section as well. When you're playing random, should you tell what you spawned as? I think you should not. I think that's the main advantage of playing random, the fact that you have a little bit of early game advantage. It's gonna force the Terran player to scout, and like I said, it's gonna be difficult to go for some of those quote-unquote hard counters, right? Like those build orders that can be very scary, like for example Triple Rex, and even though that's something that Reynor will be quite comfortable against, I do think it's the type of strategy you'd rather avoid, because the margin for error is so small. So I personally think, no, you should not be telling what you spawned in as. Maybe on the latter, it's a little bit different. Especially for Protoss players, it can be really quite annoying if you don't know what your opponent is playing, because when you think about it, right? So say, for example, one of these two guys was Protoss, and Protoss is going up against a random player. Against Zerg, usually you put your very first pylon right over there. Against Terran, you might be putting your very first pylon right over there. Against Protoss, you want to be putting your very first... There's no way you can get a scout off by the time that you have to put your very first pylon down. And you really, have to determine. Like, there are go-to build orders that are relatively safe. It seems like the low-ground wall-off, for example, is not a bad option in every single matchup. But for Terran, it doesn't really matter. You can go for a barracks into a command center. For Zerg, it doesn't really matter when you're going up against random eater. You can just go for a hatchery into a gas geist or into a spawning pool. But for Protoss... yeah, there's an argument to be made that it is a little bit more difficult. But hey, the opponent is playing 9 matchups, whereas you are only playing 3. I think it's reasonable enough. What if the ultimate endgame of StarCraft 2, right? Say this game is around for another 10 years. Everybody's gonna be playing random. What if that is the ultimate endgame? That would be kind of amazing. I have no idea how a random versus random would work out at this level. It would be very funny, that's for sure. Anyways, maybe one day. Make sure to subscribe so you get notified as soon as that video goes live. I had to squeeze that one in there, guys. I don't really bring up that you guys should subscribe all too often, but what I can try and do is do the classic YouTuber guilt trip. Where I let you know that if I look at my YouTube analytics, only like half of my viewers are actually subscribed to my channel. And that makes me very sad, guys. No, you can subscribe if you want to. Don't feel bad if you don't, but if you like to stay up to date, it is the easiest way to get notifications as soon as I post new videos, which I do pretty much every day. Very quick expansions right here for HeroMarine. 3rd CC going down before the starport, so he's opting to go for a standard opener. Ancient Cistern, of course, a relatively normal map as well, so this is the type of build that will be relatively safe against everything, especially if you do go for a... Well, why are we putting the starport over here? Normally you go for a tech lab and then, well, you go eventually into a couple of benchies. It has become quite popular over the last few months again to go for battlecruiser play. The only reason why I can imagine HeroMarine putting his starport over here is if he wants to go for some shenanigans. I'm not exactly sure. So you can't start up the fusion core until the starport is done. Since there's no tech lab yet on this barracks either, I do think that's the plan. I do think he's gonna go into a little bit of battlecruiser shenanigans. Okay, we can also go into a Viking. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to hype you up. That was... People on the screen right now. Oh, yes, battlecruiser. It's gonna be amazing. It's a Viking. It's literally a Viking. But there's nothing yet on the... Why is the barracks over here? The 3rd gas also just started up. It's... Okay, no, guys. I'm still good. I'm still good. It's Viking into a delayed battlecruiser. Never mind. You can continue, you know, getting excited. I know, battlecruisers always, you know, bring the boys to the yard. Okay, now, maybe that's milkshakes. But battlecruisers bring the nerds to the yard, okay? Nerds love battlecruisers. Myself included. Alright, double Evo right here on the other side of the map in the meantime. This is something I've seen Reynor play quite a bit again over the last few months. So, over the last few years, the established standard for Zerg... Oh god, Brenda is very far off creep. The established standard for Zerg is... Lair into Baneling Nest, into Baneling Speed. Then eventually you go into Evo Chambers and upgrades. Reynor's been mixing this up a little bit, where he goes into upgrades first, then a Lair, and then eventually Baneling Speed. This does mean, however, that against the battlecruiser opener... I mean, he should start it up. He's busy microing the Hellions, I guess, but these units take forever to build. He's got a lot of money right now as well. HeroMarine, there you go. A little bit of sloppiness here, to be honest. Like, he's doing a decent job microing those Hellions, don't get me wrong, and if he can justify all of this by killing a bunch of drones, that would be nice, but I think he's just gonna end up losing everything here. Yeah, 4 drones. Good crisis management right there by Zerg. He was sitting on a lot of cash there for quite a while, so if you look right now at the resources lost, even though that feels really good as a Terran player, the Viking actually landed and got another drone, and then the Viking died too. It feels great as a Terran player, but yeah, it's really not that good. It's really, like, resources-wise, it's really not that amazing. Plus, on top of that, Zerg can just hold down the drone button here for quite a while. They don't really have to worry about any additional Hellions right now showing up. Maybe they will eventually, but... HeroMarine not having the best of days, I don't think. Mislanding the orbital command as well. Just a little bit of sloppiness. As he's transitioning towards 4 additional factories. Now, my main question at this point, though, does Reynor have enough anti-air? Like, he doesn't know exactly what he's playing against. He starts up Spore Crawlers right now. That's honestly an indicator that he does know what he's playing against, although this is a little bit strange. There's the tactical jump going straight towards the 3rd base of the Zerg player. Reynor must be fully aware of the build orders that HeroMarine has been opting for lately, or at the very least, the builds that he's been seeing on the ladder, because he seemed to be prepared for the battlecruiser without really knowing anything about it. Probably just the Viking into BC. It's uncommon, right? But it's not unheard of. And I guess safety Spore Crawlers, it's a relatively small investment. When you've played a pretty stellar early game, it is a safety precaution you can usually afford, so... Okay, that battlecruiser just got pushed back right away. It's also only a single battlecruiser this time around. Because already... Yep, the tech lab has been switched over to a factory, as we're gonna go into the Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade. We're already going for the Cyclone Improvement upgrade as well. BC needs to be very careful. Don't lose the battlecruiser, HeroMarine. HeroMarine, careful, careful, careful. Ooh. Okay. So, this is full-on battle mech. I love battle mech. I think battle mech is amazing. 3 additional factories do show up as well. So we're gonna go up to 8 factory production already at this point in the game. That is kind of absurd. The only thing that I don't really like about this is the fact that he YOLO'd in those Hellions earlier, and because of that, the creep spread has been completely unchecked over the last couple minutes. Reynor has, well, like I said, his APM is very high, He's not really slowed down in that department at all. Or slowed down in that department. There you go. Anyways, he's got a good amount of creep. Cyclones at this point are spotted as well, so what exactly is the transition going to be? Well, turns out those double upgrades that he got really early are going to be absolutely fantastic. Because normally you wouldn't have this done right? But he doesn't really need the Baneling speed nearly as quickly. 2-2 is going to finish up nice and early. We're going to go straight into the Hydra Den as well, so Hydroling Bane here, at least for the time being, from Reynor. One really good advantage, though, of Battle Mech is that you can get those Cyclones to lock on and then back off, right? So you can usually fight while retreating, which is a really powerful way of playing. The main thing you have to concern yourself with is like fungal growth, maybe abductions from Vipers, and of course surrounds, right? So you gotta be very careful you don't drive too deep onto the creep. Okay, trading a couple Hellions right there against Banelings. I don't think that's bad for the Terran. You gotta be so careful, man. Oh my god, HeroMarine, this isn't the spot, dude. This is not the spot. He's gonna get his entire army surrounded. That move is definitely a mistake. Now, in the meantime, on the left side, there is that battlecruiser once again, trying to be annoying, but that was a gigantic error right there from HeroMarine. Almost underestimating his opponent a little bit in this series, making some very uncharacteristic mistakes. Obviously, pro gamers are allowed to have off days, right? Sometimes you just don't feel it, but I'm honestly a little surprised with some of the decisions that HeroMarine has been making in this series so far. Like, he's gonna be able to go back home. The problem is, right, you want to maintain that map control. You want to make sure that you can do, well, anything you like as the Terran player in a game like this. But now, once again, that creep spread is unchecked. The Zerg is knocking on the front door. Pretty decent splits right here on the Cyclones, trying to keep as many of them alive. But 26 SCVs have gone down, while the Terran player is... He even lost the command center. Well, there it is. Reynor obtains a 2-0 victory over HeroMarine. And honestly, he made it look kind of easy.